Discover the secrets and curiosities you didn't know about New York, the city of skyscrapers. Have you ever wondered what makes New York, the city that never sleeps, unique? Did you know that behind its skyscrapers and constant hustle and bustle, there are secrets and curiosities that few know about? In this video, we'll explore fascinating facts, hidden stories, and surprising details about America's most iconic city. From its breathtaking monuments to its rich culture, we'll take you on a tour of New York's most surprising corners. So, are you ready to discover what really makes this city special? Don't miss out and join us until the end to learn all the secrets you need to know about the Big Apple. New York, the city that never sleeps, is a fascinating place where history, culture, and modernity merge to create one of the most vibrant metropolises in the world. While its iconic skyscrapers and constant hustle and bustle are the first things that come to mind for most, this city hides countless fun facts that even the most passionate New York fans might not know. From its founding to the most intimate details of its daily life, New York remains a fascinating enigma to millions of people around the world. Below, we take you on a tour of some of the most surprising facts about this city, which is not only famous for its incredible skyline, but also for its history, culture, and quirks. One of the most surprising aspects of New York is its size and diversity. The city is made up of 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island. Manhattan, although the most famous, represents only a fraction of what the city has to offer. In fact, if we add up the total area of the 5 boroughs, New York covers an area of about 468.9 square miles, which is equivalent to about 1,200 square kilometers. This immense city is home to a population of over 8,500,000, making it the most populous city in the United States and one of the most densely populated in the world. If we compare its size with that of other major cities, such as Los Angeles, one could say that New York is much more compact, but much more intense in terms of activity. Speaking of intensity, life in New York is famous for its frenetic pace. It is not uncommon to find people rushing between subway stations, jumping between yellow cabs, or simply walking quickly along the sidewalks of Manhattan streets, almost always in the direction of a seemingly urgent destination. This fast-paced lifestyle reflects the unstoppable energy of the city. However, this frenetic pace is also counterbalanced by moments of serenity found in its parks and in the less explored corners of its neighborhoods. For example, Central Park, which spans 843 acres in the heart of Manhattan, offers a green haven for those seeking to escape the urban bustle. In terms of architecture, New York is synonymous with skyscrapers. It's impossible to think of the city without imagining the Empire State Building, One World Trade Center, or the Chrysler Building, but what many don't know is that these skyscrapers weren't always so tall. The Empire State Building, which was the tallest building in the world when it was completed in 1931, stands 1,454 feet tall, 443 meters, including its antenna. To put this in perspective, in 2024, there are several buildings in the world that exceed 2,000 feet in height. Nevertheless, the height of these buildings remains one of New York's most iconic features, and the city continues to be a global architectural landmark. Furthermore, it is important to note that the New York skyline is not only characterized by these enormous skyscrapers, but also by its enormous diversity of architectural styles, from Art Deco to neoclassical to modern to minimalist. If we stop for a moment to think about the symbols of the city, it is inevitable to mention the Statue of Liberty. Gifted to the United States by France in 1886, this iconic monument stands on Liberty Island in New York Harbor. Standing 305 feet, 93 meters, tall, including its pedestal, the statue has been a symbol of hope, freedom, and the American dream for millions of immigrants who came to the country seeking a better life. Inside, visitors can climb up to the statue's crown, from where they get one of the most impressive views of the city. The Statue of Liberty has also been the scene of many historical and cultural moments that define the soul of New York. Speaking of immigration, New York has been home to one of the most diverse communities in the world. Over the years, millions of people from all corners of the globe have come to this city in search of opportunity. In 1892, Ellis Island became the main point of entry for immigrants coming to the country, and it is estimated that between 1892 and 1954, more than 12 million people passed through Ellis Island, with many of them settling in New York. Today, the city remains a melting pot of cultures, with more than 800 languages spoken on its streets. This melting pot of cultures is reflected not only in the city's daily life, but also in its cuisine, which ranges from classic New York pizza to the most exotic dishes from every corner of the globe. New York is also known for its public transportation system, which is one of the largest and most complex in the world. The New York subway, with its more than 472 stations, covers a distance of 665 miles, 1,070 kilometers, of track, making it one of the largest on the planet. This transportation system is crucial to the daily lives of New Yorkers, as more than 5 million people use it every day. However, what many do not know is that the New York subway is also one of the oldest, having opened in 1904. With more than 100 years of history, the subway has witnessed some of the city's most iconic moments, from major labor strikes to the explosive growth of the city throughout the 20th century. While the subway is central to transportation in the city, New York has also been a pioneer in the world of cabs. The famous yellow cabs, which are synonymous with the city, began operating in the early 20th century. Today, there are more than 13,000 cabs in the city, and many tourists and locals use them as a convenient way to get around the busy streets of Manhattan. These cabs are also a cultural symbol of the city, featured in countless movies and television shows. And, of course, we can't talk about New York without mentioning Times Square. This square, known as the intersection of the world, is one of the most visited places in the city, with more than 50 million people passing through it every year. Times Square is famous for its huge electronic displays, bright lights, and constant bustle that never ceases. Although it has been a symbol of the city for more than a century, it has undergone a significant transformation in recent decades, becoming a center for entertainment, shopping, and culture. It is also the site of the famous ball drop every December 31st, marking the arrival of the new year with a spectacular display of lights and fireworks. Culture in New York is another of its most fascinating aspects. The city is known for being the epicenter of the arts in the United States, with a wealth of museums, theaters, and galleries. The Metropolitan Museum of Art, for example, is one of the largest and most prestigious in the world, with more than 2 million works of art in its collection. On the other hand, Broadway, the world's most famous theater district, offers a constant schedule of plays and musicals that attract millions of tourists and locals each year. These cultural elements are an integral part of what makes New York a unique place, where creativity, history, and innovation are uniquely intertwined. Looking at all that New York has to offer, it's easy to see why it's such a special city. From its incredible diversity to its rich history and breathtaking skyscrapers, New York remains an endless source of surprises and curiosities. Whether you're walking its history-filled streets or exploring its modern buildings, there's always something new to discover. New York is a city that, like its people, never stands still. And perhaps that is what characterizes it most, its ability to constantly reinvent itself without ever losing its essence. New York, besides being a vibrant metropolis, is also a city rich in culture and history. In its streets, artistic manifestations intertwine with daily life in a unique way. A clear example is the street art scene, which has become one of the most prominent in the world. The borough of Brooklyn, in particular, is known for its murals and graffiti, which adorn its streets and building facades. These murals not only reflect the creativity of local artists, but also tell stories about the city and its diverse communities. This artistic expression has been an integral part of New York culture since the 1970s and 1980s, when graffiti began to become popular on subway trains. Music is another of the fundamental cultural aspects of New York. The city has been the birthplace of genres such as jazz, hip-hop, and punk rock. Venues such as the Village Vanguard in Greenwich Village have featured some of the most influential musicians in jazz history, including John Coltrane and Miles Davis. Also, in the Harlem neighborhood, the Apollo Theater has remained a temple of African American music since its opening in 1914, where great artists such as Ella Fitzgerald and James Brown took their first steps toward fame. On the other hand, hip-hop, which was born in the Bronx in the 1970s, has evolved into one of the most influential musical genres in the world. Today, music remains an essential part of New York's identity, with a vibrant scene that encompasses every genre imaginable. New York's cuisine is also a reflection of its cultural diversity. The city is famous for its New York-style pizza, characterized by thin, crispy dough that can be easily folded in half. However, the city's culinary offerings are not limited to pizzas. In the boroughs of Queens and Brooklyn, it is possible to find food from virtually every corner of the world. From Indian, Italian, and Chinese restaurants to more exotic flavors such as Ethiopian or Vietnamese, New York's gastronomic diversity is one of the richest and most varied on the planet. In addition, food trucks have become a distinctive feature of the city, offering everything from tacos to gourmet dishes, making every meal a little adventure. Another curious fact is that in New York, despite being a city known for its population density, there are huge green spaces and parks. Central Park, as already mentioned, is the most famous, but there are others such as the High Line, an elevated park built on an old railroad track, which offers a unique experience of the city from above. In addition, one of the lesser-known parks, Washington Square Park, is an emblematic place for New Yorkers, where concerts, festivals, and cultural events that reflect the dynamic life of the city are held. New York's history is also marked by important events that have left their mark on the city's culture. The Great Apollo Night, held every year, is a celebration of African American culture and originated at the famous Apollo Theater in Harlem. This event brings together artists from around the world and is a reminder of the influence of African Americans in music, art, and popular culture. On the other hand, the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, is a key center for the preservation and promotion of contemporary art, housing some of the most important works of artists such as Pablo Picasso, Vincent van Gogh, and Andy Warhol. While many are aware of the magnitude of Times Square, few know that one of the most fascinating aspects of this place is its history. Originally, Times Square was a relatively quiet area, known as Longacre Square, before it was renamed in 1904. It was the arrival of the New York Times newspaper in the area that gave it its new name and began to attract more foot traffic. Since then, Times Square has evolved into the bustling crossroads it is today, filled with bright lights, shows, and a steady stream of tourists and locals. The city also has a special connection to film, not only as a production center, but also as a cinematic icon. New York has been the setting for countless films that have captured the essence of the city, from Breakfast at Tiffany's to The Godfather to Spider-Man. New Yorkers feel a very special bond with the movies that portray their city, as if each film is a representation of their own home. In addition, the city hosts the famous Tribeca Film Festival, which attracts filmmakers and movie stars from around the world, further cementing its role as a cultural epicenter. Theater also plays an essential role in New York's cultural life, especially on Broadway. Although Broadway is the best known of the theater districts, Off-Broadway and Off-Off-Broadway offer more experimental and often lower budget, but equally influential, performances. These smaller theaters have been home to some of the most innovative and popular productions, such as Rent and Hamilton, which began on these stages before conquering the world. The city prides itself on being a place where theater can be both a massive business and a space for artistic experimentation. A unique aspect of New York is how its architecture reflects its evolution over the centuries. In addition to modern skyscrapers, New York preserves architectural gems from another era, such as the New York Public Library, with its iconic entrance flanked by stone lions, or Grand Central Terminal, one of the most beautiful train stations in the world. These buildings, built in the early 20th century, bear witness to a grandiose past that is still part of the cityscape. The city has managed to balance modernity with the preservation of its heritage, creating an environment where old and new coexist harmoniously. New York is, without a doubt, one of the most interesting cities in the world. Every corner of the city is full of stories, curiosities, and details that make it a unique place, where diversity, culture, and history intertwine to shape a city that never ceases to amaze those who visit it and, above all, those who have the privilege of living in it. If you've been surprised by everything you've discovered about New York, don't forget to subscribe to the World in Evolution channel, where you'll always find fascinating content about the world's most interesting cities. Also, if you are passionate about learning and improving your life, visit our website selfmatamillionaires.online, where you will find valuable resources to continue growing and achieving success. You can't miss it.